Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Just Interesting, which I hope you all find just interesting, really.
Hopefully more than just interesting.
Hopefully a little bit more than just interesting.
Not just
We'll set the bar quite low.
Not too interesting. Not too interesting. I don't want like super interesting or anything like that.
No, we
just
could
interesting.
waffle on for far too long if it's too interesting. But if
Yeah.
it's just interesting, we'll talk about it for just the right amount of time.
We should have called it interesting enough.
Interesting enough. That was already taken. Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm Robin, and I'm joined by...
Alex.
And Martin.
Hey.
Hopefully you've already heard of us from previous escapades.
Yes, I imagine most of you will know us from the YouTube channel Uncovered, and we have our podcast over there called Stories from the Bunker.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all in the past. This is the future. And we'll be discussing a question of the week. Each week we'll pose a particular question and we'll discuss it. Usually that question will come from you, our audience. This week, obviously, this is our first ever episode, so we've got a question that we think most of you will be interested to know
Hopefully.
the answer to.
Hopefully. I
Hopefully.
hope so. It's been years of investing our time in it. And they don't even care, Robin.
Yes.
Hopefully they do.
So that question will be, what happened to Uncovered? We'll expose everything now. Well, the truth, that is. But we'll also be discussing interesting things that we learned this week, and we'll close the episode with a quiz.
Quiz.
Which
Yes.
I have prepared.
Oh,
And
good.
We'll start
That's
the
lucky.
scoreboard, see who the champion will be.
Yeah.
Because we tried to calculate it, but then it got a little bit complicated with people being away and
The
Alex
guests coming
cheating.
on.
And
No,
those kind of things.
none of that. Yeah, I think we should keep a scoreboard this week. I also had an idea that I brought up to Robin. But you know how Countdown has like a countdown
Yeah.
teapot? The Countdown
Oh.
teapot that like winners win.
The winners
Oh,
always
yeah,
get
yeah,
two.
I think we
Yeah.
should have like a season league or something. And,
I like it.
Whoever wins
What should we
gets-
win?
I don't know.
Let us know. What do you think we should win? Nothing rude.
Yeah, tell us on Twitter. I'm at AllTimeRobin.
At all time Martin.
At Alex Brown ATC.
You're going to have to
Nice.
change that now.
We're all going to have to change it. Let's be honest, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Cool,
then.
yeah.
Well, this week I learned
Go
that Mr. Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood fame
Yeah.
was a lifelong registered Republican.
Was it?
Ah.
Yeah.
So is this the new movie that Tom Hanks was in, right?
Yeah, he was
Rogers.
in that movie. Yeah, but I
Yes.
learned it from that documentary
Oh,
that came out a year ago.
Okay.
Just over a year ago.
Do you know what that is,
Interesting.
Robin?
What?
That's just interesting.
Hey,
No,
I like
that is interesting. I wonder what he would think of the Republican Party today if it has changed a lot
Yeah,
since his lifetime.
I mean, what's
Very true.
interesting is that from the documentary, it seemed that he wasn't fond of Nixon,
Yeah.
and he was in favor of PBS, which is publicly funded, and he was against the Vietnam War. But nonetheless, a lifelong registered Republican, which is interesting and kind of makes sense, I think, when you think his message was everyone's special, every individual counts, everyone has value, and obviously he was a very, very, very Christian person. So
So a lot of those old school Republican
yeah,
traits.
yeah,
Yeah,
a
without
classic
necessarily
Republican,
agreeing with the current administration or the administration at the time with Nixon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
yeah.
Well, I learnt this week something a bit took me by surprise, and it took the whole of Twitter by surprise.
Oh, really?
Gene
Yeah.
Simmons puts ice cubes in his cereal. What's that
Oh,
about?
why would you do that?
Well, he says that he does it to keep the milk cold. He says you wouldn't want,
Oh,
room temperature milk in
How
your cereal.
slowly is he eating the cereal?
milk stays cold, man. There's
His milk's...
what?
He uses UHT milk in the cupboard, doesn't he?
Oh, maybe.
He posted a picture to Twitter, and it had a mixture of shredded wheat and Oreo O's cereal,
I mean, that's weird.
topped with milk and ice
Do
cubes.
Hey.
people mix cereal? Do you mix cereal?
No, but then I never.
I'm
had
not
the
a
money.
madman.
I never had the money to buy more than one type of cereal at a time.
Oh,
Yeah.
tiny violin.
Or I had a variety pack, but I couldn't afford to mix two boxes together.
Oh.
I mean, I have to admit, I would eat that cereal. Oreo and what was it? Oreo O's?
And
Shredded wheat.
Shredded wheat, yeah.
It's a strange mix.
That is a strange mix with ice
You
cubes
always
as well.
put sugar on your shredded wheat. You might as
No,
well
you
add
don't.
Oreos.
No, you don't.
But the ice is weird because that would just
Yeah.
dilute the milk, right? And make everything
Yeah.
extra soggy. Ugh.
Anyway,
bad.
Twitter users jumped in and said, one person said, if you froze milk in ice cube trays and put iced milk cubes in your cereal, I could see that being a decent
Yes,
idea.
I understand
But
that, yeah.
normal ice cubes, shit no man. Watery milk does no one any good. And another person commented, you have ruined 2020. And quite frankly, Gene Simmons, I think I agree.
Yeah, unless you're using Unless you're using like ultra thick Jersey milk, right? And then you're watering it down, so it's just like normal milk.
Do they get Jersey milk in America?
I don't think they get Jersey milk. Is it something similar, like extra thick milk?
Yeah.
You're watering it down,
Like
it just
cream,
becomes normal.
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gene Simmons responded to the backlash, referring
he
to
did.
people like
course he
online going crazy about his cereal, and he said, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense because Kim Jong-un and the rest of the world and Mr. Putin and all the rest, that's not controversy. What I had for breakfast, whether there's ice in it or not, is earth-shaking." So he's kind of
That's a
saying
point.
people,
True. but
focusing on his cereal.
then,
What I do-
if you don't want people to comment on it, then
share
why are you
it.
posting on Twitter? That's how I respond to with that.
And yeah, my final
good point.
question with this was, can we focus on global political problems and how Gene Simmons eats his cereal all at one time? Can we
Yeah.
do that?
We can
Maybe.
do that. Like, there's
Although
probably an analogy you could draw between his cereal.
Yes, mixing up shredded wheat. Which one's shredded wheat and which one's Oreos?
Oh, I don't
in
wanna
terms
go
of
there
the
yet.
story.
Oreos is clearly the ice cubes in
The Gene,
cereal.
yeah, the Gene Simmons story. Yeah,
Mm.
nice. Well, this week I learned why the Windy City is called the Windy City.
As in
And
Chicago.
Chicago, the Windy
Yeah.
City. Now,
Okay.
with other American fans, you probably know this. You think I'm an idiot, but I did not know this.
I didn't know this.
You don't know what I'm going to say.
Well, I didn't know it.
So it may be true that the Windy City is called the Windy City because it's windy. You get breezes coming in off Lake Michigan,
Yeah.
coming through the city.
I would have
It
guessed that.
It becomes windy.
Yeah.
But Chicago isn't even nearly the most windiest city in America. Like the likes of Boston, New York, and San Francisco have average higher wind speeds than Chicago.
Oh.
So Chicago supposedly earned its nickname, the Windy City, because of the hot air bellowed from politicians,
Oh, okay.
as opposed to the actual wind. So it's a
Oh,
metaphor.
wow.
A
Yeah.
metaphor, supposedly.
Never knew that.
From
Yeah, so it has a dual
politicians.
meaning. Of course, it's quite windy.
Yeah.
I imagine. Never been.
Yeah.
Want to go. But also the hot air from
I
politicians.
suppose windy is catchier than the gas bag.
Yeah,
Or
true.
hot air city. That's pretty early on as well, because like Calamity Jane was singing about the Windy City.
Yeah.
So I assume that film and musical is historically accurate, and they were calling it the Windy City in the mid 19th century.
Yes, well, there was a headline in 1876 in the Cincinnati Enquirer that used the phrase "that windy city," which was in reference to a tornado that came through the city.
Right.
Oh,
I mean,
that would also make sense.
Yes.
surely.
So but windy. So they've used it throughout history. It's been used, well, modern history in both senses, being windy as in literally windy,
Right.
and because of the hot air bellowed by politicians.
Ah.
Does Chicago generally get many like tornadoes? I'm not familiar with
I honestly wouldn't have
tornadoes
thought
in
so.
the US.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
News to me.
It's not that tornado belt, really, is it? Chicago? No, it's like, I don't think so.
don't know.
Someone that knows loads about tornadoes,
Let us know. Yeah,
Please
Let
tell
us
us.
know. But I thought
Yeah.
that was interesting. I thought it was
just
just
interesting.
interesting.
Let's see how long we can keep this up.
Anyway, well, we learned a bunch of stuff this week,
Yeah.
and now we like to go onto a new section
Yeah.
of weird news that have been maybe in the news this week, or just weird news stories from around the world.
Yeah. What's yours?
My story that I found this week was the first British woman to go into space,
Yeah.
who went into space in 1991 on Russia's Mir space station, has recently come out and said that aliens could be living among us.
I heard
Did you
this.
see this story?
I did.
I
saw
thought
the
this was pretty
headline.
weird.
Yeah.
What's the other part? So aliens may be living. Aliens exist, definitely.
And may be living among us. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So Dr. Helen Sharman was a 27-year-old food chemist when she visited Russia's Mir space station in May 1991. And she said that extraterrestrial life could be living right under our noses. Aliens exist. There's no two ways about it. There are so many billions of stars out there in the universe that there must be all sorts of different forms of life. Will they be like you and me, made up of carbon and nitrogen? Maybe not. It's possible they're here right now and we simply can't see them.
Oh, that's an interesting spin.
Yeah, because we've spoken before at length, really, about how we all believe that by the law of statistics, it's likely that aliens exist somewhere in our universe, but
Yeah.
maybe that
Almost certainly.
they don't necessarily exist among us. And we've said that they might exist in other forms or whatever, but to say they might not be visible to us, that's an interesting take.
It's a good answer to the Fermi paradox as well, because there's that, why, like, if life is definitely out there, why haven't we seen them? You know, that's the whole problem,
I
isn't
see,
it?
yeah.
That if you know, assuming that life in the universe is quite common, we really should have encountered some aliens by now. I know, it's the whole taking Drake's equation into everything, like the frequency that life develops on other planets, taking that into consideration, and the size of the universe and how long it's been around for, really, like, aliens should have visited by now. So how comes we haven't come into contact with them? This could be an interesting answer. Maybe we just can't detect them, and maybe they're already here.
It's particularly interesting because that's the first time I've heard somebody with some kind of scientific standing mention that aliens might be in a form that we don't recognize.
Yeah.
What was it? Not carbon or nitrogen based.
Yeah.
Because of course we've had people like Edgar Mitchell, the NASA astronaut, who said that aliens exist, spent his life more or less campaigning to convince people that UFO sightings could be real.
He's a strong believer in UFO sightings, isn't he?
Yeah, he was. But this is another NASA astronaut, I guess is the right term for her.
Yeah.
I wasn't entirely sure if she was a trained astronaut or just a civilian who went up there.
You said in 1991 she was a food chemist, right?
Yep.
Man, that seems like the job you need to get into space.
It's an interesting one. You wouldn't necessarily think that to get in. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. It was an interesting path, not an odd path, an interesting path.
I wonder how many people trained to be an astronaut by like doing the traditional method of going through the military, becoming a fighter pilot and all that, and then it's like, no, actually we're after a food chemist.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think it's funny, that's one thing you mentioned, the military, that always, the little irony that we like to overlook, I think, which is lots of people see the NASA in particular, but also in Russia, space exploration achievements. They see these ordinary people who are exceptionally intelligent, have exceptional training, but ordinary people, civilians, achieving these massive milestones in human history. But when you look at it, they're all fighter pilots, they're all military scientists, they're all engineers, they're all literal rocket scientists who are Nazis or something like that. And there's this military dimension which always kind of reinforces to me the historical context of space exploration in human history, which is that it only happened because of the need for military might.
War and that kind of thing.
Where, like the Cold War in this case, thankfully not too many people being killed, but war is the greatest motivator of technological achievement because the military always gets the best funding, and then they pass on their developments to the civilian sector.
It's a good thing World War III's on the way.
Yeah, I was going to say. No, it is true, and also it's where the expenditure is, right? As you're saying, that's where the funding is.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that was my weird news story for the week.
It is weird, but also I think to an extent it's quite rational, isn't it?
Nothing that she actually said was particularly out there. It was pretty logical.
But it's interesting that often people dismiss it when it's someone who's supposedly crazy saying about this. Whereas it's actually the first British woman astronaut into space. I mean, if that's not an authority, I don't know what it is, right? On the subject.
But it's also interesting that she's not claiming any personal experience of them. She's just hypothesizing.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting too.
Yeah.
Not like I was in space and I saw aliens. It's more than that. It's a scientific approach to the problem, which is quite interesting.
Okay, so my weird news story of this week is that the British government wants to hire weirdos.
Where do I sign up?
Okay, so we're all in a position to sign up, and there's a little bit of a twist on this. So they want to hire people to have more cognitive diversity. So they're looking for people who are unusual. Okay. So
we really waste money, don't we?
Yeah. So this has come from Dominic Cummings. So he was one of the people behind the Brexit campaign.
Right.
He's like
a
the
chief
judgment, advisor, isn't he?
Reserve judgment
our Prime Minister.
Exactly. So Dominic Cummings has advertised this job on his blog, saying that the civil service does not have enough genuine cognitive diversity, which
what does that mean? They want outside the box thinkers.
So he's looking for top mathematicians and people that think differently. But looking at his blog, there's no real differentiation in like the job spec. It's just like people that are unusual mathematicians, people that are unusual project managers. It's just basically asking for the best people in the field.
Right.
The interesting twist comes in that Uri Geller,
as in spoon fame,
the Uri Geller of spoon bending fame, has said that he is the best man for the job and has applied.
Oh,
which is odd. It's odd for two reasons. The first one is that it's Uri Geller, and apart from being outed quite a few times as being a bit of a charlatan, he's also about 80 now, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's in his 70s, I believe.
I'm surprised he wants to. Yeah.
Not that should be in. It's not ageist,
No.
but it's interesting for him to want to get a government position at that kind of age. Interesting.
Didn't he claim that he secured Boris a victory in the most recent election?
Did
he?
He did something with a spoon. I didn't know.
Exactly. He is. Yeah. So Uri Geller wants this job, and he says that while many have doubted my abilities, my achievements cannot be dismissed as trickery or illusions. Fashionable. And he says, in my intelligence work, I assisted Operation Desert Storm, helped located secret tunnels in North Korea, and used my skills to erase crucial diplomatic discs on their way to Moscow. So these are reasons why he should get the job.
I mean, very qualified. But this is great because we can't tell if he's lying or not because it's top secret stuff that nobody's able to confirm.
Exactly. But at least he managed to infiltrate the messages going to Moscow.
He did, yeah.
So the world was saved. And that was, I take it that was during the Cold War in the 80s. So Uri Geller, do you think he's the right man for the job?
What is the job? I don't know what the job is.
The job. I've got the job spec here.
Okay.
From Dominic Cummings, titled, 2 hands are a lot. We're hiring data scientists, project managers, policy experts, and assorted weirdos.
Nice.
This is incredible. Like if Dominic Cummings is in his position for the next 5 years and still has the ear of the Prime Minister, he could be one of the most significant individuals in British history because of the changes that he could make to the way our government is run and our entire political system.
It's mad.
Yeah.
The job spec as well, this particular job spec isn't that coherent. So in the last line of one of the paragraphs, it says, you do not need a PhD. We're also interested in graduate students as world-class researchers who don't have PhDs yet. The next line is, you should have the following, PhD in maths or physics.
Great.
To be fair, it does say, or MSc. So you don't have to have a PhD.
You don't have to.
So then it goes through the kind of jobs you'll be working on. So early warning signals for critical transitions in the thermoacoustic system. Yeah. So this is apparently early warning systems in physics that could be applied to other areas from finance to epidemics.
So is that like early warning system, like alerts, like if nuclear wars
or if something's spreading, an epidemic spreading, you'll be able to tell like what the effects are going to be. I imagine.
It's like applying analytical models from other fields to politics, basically.
Statistical and ML forecasting methods, concerns and ways forward. So these are different papers that have been done, and they'll be similar to the work you'd be working on. So it seems to be very scientific and analytical, but not really too much on what you'd actually be doing.
Sounds like you need very professional people for that role.
Do you think
it
Uri
sounds like
Geller
a very
is perfect
serious
for the role?
I think it's a bit insulting to look at like, oh, what will they be doing? A bunch of this, and then him just going like, just hire some weirdos.
I think
we want some weirdos to do that.
I think genuinely what he's trying to say is we want people that aren't just schmoozers who can talk the talk, which is kind of ironic, really.
Yeah.
And they want people who might not necessarily have the best social skills, but are really, really intelligent to deal with these problems that they're finding that will require the best mathematical and best scientific minds that the Britain has.
But in typical Dominic Cummings fashion, he isn't
Israel
just saying we want genuine people who are specialists in their field. He's saying we want weirdos because I'm different. This is about me and the way that I present things.
Exactly. Exactly. When actually, this could be said, we want the best people in the field.
Yeah. Could be
and the same thing would be said. But maybe it's just attracting a wider range of applicants, possibly.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with this if people sign up, what kind of deals they get, whether they'll be hired as private contractors or as government workers, and of course, whether or not they'll actually be doing what he says they'll be doing, and instead they'll just be providing political analysis for Boris Johnson in the next election.
He's wanting unusual software developers, unusual economists, and then junior researchers. Which is, it's not exactly the weirdos as you'd expect. Most junior researchers tend to be quite down the line, don't they?
Yeah, maybe normal people.
I'm an unusual economist in that I'm not an economist, so that makes
that
me
is
really
unusual.
It's
not
unusual for me to call myself an economist.
But as you said earlier, a lot of these roles, although they're framed in a way that's weird and unusual, there is quite down the line. We just want people that are good at their jobs, right?
Yeah.
And so then Uri Geller comes up and says, I've managed to do X, Y, and Z in the past. Operation Desert Storm, getting Boris Johnson elected. It's just such a bizarre thing to have happened.
Yeah, that is pretty bizarre.
I guess, he smelled an opportunity. Yeah, good luck. We'll see
Maybe
what
he'll get it.
We'll see Uri Geller in the cabinet very soon.
Nice. Well, that was interesting, Martin. That was interesting.
That was interesting, yeah. My weird news is it's good old Nostradamus.
Oh, what's
Our
he up
old
to
friend.
these days?
Well, what isn't he up to? He died hundreds of years ago, but he's
What?
still predicting what's happening now.
this is his busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
Start
It
of
does tend
January.
to be
Start of
New Year,
January, yeah, exactly.
New decade
It's
as well.
New year, new decade, 2020. Hindsight is everything. So,
What have we got in store?
what we have in store, according to Nostradamus, well, a bit of background for those who don't know. Nostradamus was a French, I think, philosopher, officially.
Yeah.
He published a book in 1555, which was basically a very extensive collection of poems in quatrain forms. They were 4-line poems in French, which have been translated. So the proviso is that all these quatrains are believed to predict the future, but it seems that the English-speaking world is particularly interested in what Nostradamus had to say, but based on translations of his work. So interpretation is very much a problem with Nostradamus because different translators have different ideas about what the wording actually is.
Yeah.
But without going into too much detail, Nostradamus and his predictions for 2020, this is an article from last August.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So August 2019, his predictions for 2020 include an economic crisis.
Okay.
Yep.
Seems reasonable.
A major recession. Dark times for the global economy.
Oh.
Well, today there was an article on consumer debt. There's always articles on consumer debt. But I looked at the graph. It's basically straight up. Huge amounts of debt. So I think it's reaching 170%, whatever that means.
Nostradamus might be onto something.
He
Might
is.
be onto something.
More impressively, perhaps, he may have predicted a major global conflict. And I'll read you the translation of the quatrain. In the city of God, there will be a great thunder. 2 brothers torn apart by chaos while the fortress endures. The great leader will succumb. The third big war will begin when the big city is burning.
Oh.
Which war could he be referring to?
Brothers, what were
I'm not sure which brothers. I mean, Iran, US.
brothers? Iraq and Iran?
Iraq
Maybe,
and Iran, yeah,
yeah.
that's true, yeah. More like brothers.
Or
Yeah.
strange brothers, maybe.
What's the big
strange.
city burns?
The big city, I mean, it could be
Washington.
White
Washington.
House. It's burning metaphorically under the impeachment.
That's the
Maybe.
thing. That's the thing. It's all about interpretation, right?
Yeah.
Even that was an interpretation of the original text.
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Um,
And of course, if we talk literally, I think lots of people, with the reference to the city of God, that's obviously heaven, but it could be Jerusalem, Middle
Yes,
East,
yeah.
big war in the Middle East. That's what, obviously all the tension is
Yeah.
at the moment. So
I think what interests me more with these stories, seeing them every year, it's the same. It's pretty much the same prediction
Pretty much
every
the same,
year.
yeah, every year.
But I think it says more about the people reading into the text, the Nostradamus text,
Yeah.
and interpret and like them projecting what they think is going to happen in the next year. Because I think, in fairness, yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
It's scary times ahead, especially with what's going on at the moment in Iran and stuff. Yeah. So 2020,
Yeah.
we've got economic recession,
Yeah.
World War III.
World War III, yeah. He also
Lovely.
predicted that sea
Quite,
levels would rise in 2020.
In fairness,
Really?
So, yeah.
did he?
Yeah.
He knew about
He knew
Global
about
warming,
climate
climate
change.
change.
Yeah.
fair. In fairness, though, if we are still alive at the end of 2020, who knows how many people will be listening to the Just Interesting podcast?
Very
Probably
true.
none, because they will have died in,
No, they will have died.
in Trump's
Yeah.
World War
Or
III.
if we're lucky, we might be the only podcast still going. We happened to be in the right place at the right time when the nukes went off.
Exactly.
Just as we lost our bunker, World War III breaks out.
Oh,
Oh, well, that was interesting, Robin.
thank you. Speaking of our bunker,
What happened to it?
what happened to it? This is the big question of the week.
Yes. What happened
to
the
Undercover?
bunker?
Yeah. So the bunker, as you probably remember, was where we recorded all of our podcast stories from the bunker. And we've had our last stories from the bunker go up this week.
Indeed.
You may have clicked over onto this video or on YouTube from that podcast, or you might have been directed from that podcast to this audio recording from Stories of the Bunker. Stories from the Bunker. Sorry.
Forgotten the name
The
already.
name already. It's all in the past. Yeah, what happened? So since 2013, we've been working on a YouTube channel, which has since become a podcast, called All Time Conspiracies, which we struggled after YouTube made some drastic changes a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So they made some big things to kind of crack down on fake news and conspiracy theories. And obviously we were looking at conspiracy theories, and Martin has a good idea about our channel name being a problem.
Yeah, I think having conspiracies in your channel name probably doesn't help in the metadata. It seemed like the videos that we had created, certainly before we changed the name, especially had been tagged and tarnished.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because we used lots of conspiracy type topics and conspiracy type words, and it seemed to me like that there was a flag above our door, as it were, in terms of what we were creating, what we created in the past, despite us creating more mystery type topics and historical type topics and the stuff that you guys want to see, and some conspiracy stuff. Like we've covered a whole range. It seemed like we couldn't necessarily recover from that.
It definitely felt like a downward spiral, because I think some of the videos, like our most popular videos, definitely were flagged under this conspiracy theory hammer. Like you showed me that graph, Martin, and it was just like a straight edge cliff off of the suggested traffic.
To go into if anyone's interested to go into a little bit more detail, what they did is they classified this type of content as being borderline, which means that it's not demonetized. Some of it can be demonetized if it's extreme, but if it's not extreme, it's not demonetized, but it's put into a separate category, which means that it doesn't go into suggested traffic, so it doesn't come up as recommended under any other videos.
That sidebar of videos,
the sidebar of videos, that's suggested traffic, so it won't come up there for basically new viewers to see it and then subscribe. So it only really gets presented to those who have watched our videos recently, and it gets presented in the subscription feed still. But it's been reduced out of pretty much all other sources, including suggested and by the looks of it, search as well. When you go into when you search on the topics, even all-time conspiracies, and then the name of the topic, it generally comes up with major news broadcasters talking about a topic, as opposed to anything like our videos. Even if we type in the exact words of our video, so the discovery was massively minimized.
Not to get too conspiratorial for a moment, but that was the bit that shocked me when we looked up certain videos that we had made.
The name
on
exactly.
Topics. We typed in the exact name of the video as we
some
had
of them
uploaded
with
it.
like millions of views as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of our most popular videos at our height got I think over 20 million views, right?
Yeah. One did. Yeah,
and obviously we had 1.8 million subscribers. So we're, I say with some modesty, a big channel. And you type in the exact wording of the title of the video that we had created, and it didn't turn up on the YouTube homepage. Instead, we had videos with 6,000 views from CNN and BBC and people like that, and just news outlets talking about these controversial topics. But because they're these big news organizations, YouTube has kind of said, okay, you're fine because you're a trusted source and you're not peddling fake news. And for the record, we never peddle fake news. In fact, we made a point of trying to strike a balance in our videos of presenting evidence for and against every single topic. But as soon as you mention Michael Jackson is still alive, or Hitler didn't commit suicide, you're just looking at this interesting topic, trying to tell it from both sides. And YouTube just bundles it into a bag and says, that is borderline content.
I mean, let's just say they seem to look more at the topic as opposed to the take on a topic. But I understand, like if someone is manually reviewing this, some of it's automatically reviewed based on metadata. But if someone's manually reviewing a clip, and our videos are 50 minutes long, there's physically no way that they can look at everyone's content across the whole of the platform. Right? They've got to look at the title, the metadata, and maybe, if you're lucky, the first 30 seconds. So if you're not suddenly going, hold on. But the way we structure our videos is to present the case first. So then if you're presenting the case, they see that in the first 30 seconds and go, nah, they put it in a box. So I think we got hit pretty hard from that.
We built a channel with a certain style out of the old YouTube, and then YouTube changed quite dramatically. Can't emphasize just how suddenly the change came upon us, and we weren't really given the time to respond and to rethink how the channel presented information. So under Martin's suggestion, because we were called All Time Conspiracies, we changed the name to Uncovered early last year, and that doesn't really seem to have had an effect.
No, it doesn't seem to. And when I've spoken to YouTube about it, I was talking about, okay, if we go back through some of the older videos and tweak the metadata, tweak the titles, make sure that it's like friendly under their guidelines, so it's not put into this category. They just flat out said, that's all, those decisions on those videos have already been made, so you won't be able to change that retrospectively. And so there's nothing that we could do to almost reignite that back catalogue either, which was tough. So I think one of the things going forward is that we have to be careful about exactly what we're creating. That doesn't mean we can't cover certain topics. I think it means that we do so with the expectation we know what the expectation is on us and on the monetization, on how those videos are going to be received by YouTube. And I think because we're not working for any kind of network, we're able to take those kind of risks for you guys, because we know, well, already we've had loads of you support us, even on our Patreon, which is launched already, which is incredible. And thank you so much.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That we can take those risks on our own account as opposed to taking those risks on the account of an organization or a network. So we can take those risks.
And that's it, really. That's the real reason that Uncovered is coming to an end, is because as you were probably aware, but you may have guessed it or you may not have noticed at all, we're actually part of a network of channels, which we call the All Time Network, which was All Time Conspiracies, later Uncovered, All Time Gaming, All Time Movies, All Time Tens, and 101 Facts. And it's one of the reasons that they kept coming on as guests onto the podcast is because we all work together and we help each other out. And it's great. They're a lovely bunch of people, and we've worked together for years now, and I love those channels. But around the time that YouTube made these drastic changes, and it wasn't just that one change, that change about conspiracy theories is the one that affected us, but there were other changes that they keep making which affected everybody.
You've probably seen the most recent change with what was it,
the children's thing.
Copper kids content,
which in fairness, that doesn't really affect us.
Some channels that will affect massively.
It will affect massively
but
some channels. But that's just one example of how YouTube just changes things overnight completely.
And massive changes that have huge, profound consequences for some channels.
Some networks are built just around children's content.
Exactly.
They have to either close it down or completely reevaluate the way that they monetize the business model. But sorry.
I was just saying, well, so we formed this network of channels because we're all friends, and it helps to work together, and you can kind of negotiate good rates and good relationships with YouTube if there's a network, if there's a group of you together. Kind of like collective bargaining almost, I suppose. But around the time these drastic changes were made, it made sense for us to, try to survive. And a company bought the network.
Quite a large media company that we can't mention.
And through their support, we were able to keep going. And as Martin mentioned, our Patreon support has been incredible. And they've really...
That was a massive reason why we're able to create things like In Plain Sight, go out and record those documentaries, because that gave us that kind of little bit of leeway to actually do things that the three of us wanted to do, as opposed to just be hammer and nail.
In a significant way, it's kind of funny. The company buying us helped us survive, gave us that stability, but at the same time it didn't actually increase our budget. It didn't help us physically at all. It just kind of gave us this kind of safety net of saying, right, we're owned by this company, if anything goes wrong we can rely on them to help us out. But in reality we kept using the same equipment, and it was our Patreons who kept us going on as kind of creatively. We're able to say, look, we've got all these Patreon supporters, we want to do this thing for them, we'll do it. And the company was like, sure, you can do that most of the time. And then we could use the money, as Martin said, to do things like those documentaries last year, the In Plain Sights, where we went to the certain locations and tried to investigate and tell a story where it happened. I really love doing those. But then the company announced couple of months ago that they were going to be restructuring and essentially getting rid of us.
And they didn't see, and we aren't crazy, we understand why. If the numbers don't add up, then they either try and find something else for you, or unfortunately that's a reality of like the working world, right? But exactly. It doesn't mean that we didn't want to still be creating together, because that's what we love doing. So that's why we started this channel, and that's why we're so thankful for your support, and that you're watching this now or listening to it, because without that there isn't anything, right? So,
exactly. And I think so like before we had that full support of people behind us, like we had Justin's been on the podcast before, who edits some of the conspiracy videos. So we've got like editors and researchers who work across all the channels behind the scenes, whereas going forward it's just going to be the three of us. And we're kind of going to be independent and doing this off our own backs. So I guess we've never been more reliant on your support.
Well, we hope you enjoy it. That's the main thing. And apart from this podcast, we hope to be doing some other things, but we haven't got any firm plans. We're just kind of going to see what we want to make. We've all discussed ideas about what we want to do. This is going to be the regular with all three of us, and then we're definitely planning on
creating stuff as a collective, but individually as well.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Was there anything else to add to what happened? Was that it? It just essentially like there was a mix
if
of.
if you have any questions, we might not be able to answer them.
Yeah,
we might not want to answer them. But if you have them, if you do want to ask them, then of course we will do our best to as much as possible. So
But just for the record, anybody who's interested, of those channels that I mentioned that were part of that all-time network, 101 Facts and All-Time Tens will continue.
Yeah,
they're going to keep going. But all-time gaming, all-time movies, and all-time conspiracies are gone. But we think the all-time gaming guys are continuing.
Yeah,
they're doing
something.
Super Show.
Yeah.
The Super Show.
Those brands, I think you can still go and watch the videos. I believe for now, and they may well pick it up at a later date if there's some reason why they want to do that. But we're not on that, and the all-time gaming guys are not on that. They're on the Super Show, which we'll put a link to in the description. Along with our Patreon if you want to support us as well. Mention that.
Yeah, for the All-Time Conspiracies Patreon, we hopefully have already made it clear to all of our Patreon supporters that that's going to be discontinued. But the page might be live. We genuinely don't know what's going to happen there because as part of this whole thing, we are leaving, I think, is the best way to express what's happening.
The channel's not necessarily closing, but we are leaving.
For the time being, it seems like they're not creating any new content on the channel, right?
Yeah, as far as we know, those channels are effectively dead, but they might not be closed. So the content, hopefully, I hope, everything that we've made over the past 6 years will still be there for you to watch.
Why it would just disappear. They still surely want to be making some residual.
Yeah, some kind of revenue. But the moral of the story is, kids, when you sell out to the man, the man will sell you out.
I mean, we're leaving it on a very negative note, but just to say, like, bring it back to being positive. I'm actually really excited about making content without I feel like we've been unshackled
massively
more than anything else.
I've never felt more relieved, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It's actually quite nice to if I wanted to. There's no kind of timetable, no deadlines the way you've got to make a certain video at a certain time. It's just kind of do whatever you're interested in.
We're going to be more organic.
More organic, yeah.
Hopefully make stuff because we want to make it and because we think it's good, as opposed to making stuff because we need to get this out on time.
Yeah, we
at
need
a
to meet
certain time.
targets.
Exactly.
No targets. We're just going to be doing hopefully what you enjoy and find just interesting.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if you've made it over here so far, then you're our favourites. So
you are,
you're our favourites. So stick around. Thank you.
Yeah, and please also, if you want to get in touch on Twitter or in the comments on the YouTube version of this podcast, tell us what you liked about what we did before and what you would like us to do or continue doing. I mean, no promises, but I'd like to know what you guys like.
Because the structure of this podcast is fairly reflective. It's not the same, but it's fairly reflective of what we were doing before because people seem to like it. But they're all things that we like individually, our interests and stuff. Like I know that Robin, you're massively into movies.
I do like movies.
I know that we're all into like games and stuff and
sex
history,
games.
sex games, and and history stuff and mysteries and this kind of things. And these are things that we're all into. So let us know what you're into as well, and hopefully we'll be able to find some things that kind of cater.
Yeah.
Also, generally, your thoughts on this podcast and the channel as it continues. Feedback is more than welcome.
Yeah, I imagine that this one, considering we're doing this question, this isn't the most interesting question of the week.
Not the most interesting,
because we're just discussing why we're here, why you're on this channel. But
I guess the idea going forward is we'll pose you interesting questions that we can then feedback on, get what you guys think, and then integrate that into the discussion that we have around these podcasts each week.
Exactly.
So hopefully, this one is a bit of a wild card. But,
it is.
But going forward, it'll be more engaging and more interesting, and get you guys involved a bit more as well.
And speaking of questions,
what a segue!
Time for a quiz.
I would love a quiz.
Yeah,
our first ever Just Interesting quiz with a brand new scoreboard.
So it's the weekly quiz. Alex versus Martin. Who's going to win? I'm not going to say.
You decide.
You decide.
Been predetermined.
We don't know. So, gentlemen, first thing we need is your buzzers. Alex, what's your buzzer?
Well, for those of you who aren't familiar with Stories from the Bunker, there might be a few of them. This
You
is
just
my
typed in just interesting, like just interesting facts.
What's
and they
this?
come up with this.
Yeah.
this is my go-to and my favorite, and I'm starting as I mean to go on.
The French. Champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence.
That's Drunk Orson Welles. So I would really recommend going and watching that. I've watched it 100 times today.
Very
And Martin.
This is a classic from a 2002 film, see if you can guess.
Trust me.
That's Toss Me, Gimli from...
I don't know how clear that's going
Lord
to
of the
come
Rings.
up, but it's...
Toss me. If it's not that clear, then just look it up on YouTube because it's quite good.
yeah.
Toss me. I love those films. Lord of the Rings is so good.
Yes, that's what I was going for.
As usual, we'll have 10 questions.
As usual, it's the first episode. We've never done this before.
Okay.
Yeah, what?
Okay.
What do you mean as usual?
Breaking new ground. We'll be having 10 questions and a bonus question if there's a tiebreaker. Whoa.
Okay.
So, question number 1. Fingers on buzzers.
Is there a theme? Is there a theme to this quiz?
There could have been,
Oh,
but there isn't.
fair enough. Okay.
So, question number 1. Which American playwright is best known for the musicals In the Heights and Hamilton?
Oh, goodness. Who was it? Hamilton.
Yeah. I'm not very good with American
yeah,
playwrights.
I
It's
gotta
not
know
my...
this.
It's like,
it's not my
actually, the
thing.
theme's American playwrights. Shit.
Yeah. No, I would never do
William
that.
Shakespeare.
Hamilton. Who's Hamilton by?
Have to buzz.
Oh, okay.
Hamilton.
Well, I mean, that was
Hamilton.
an actual
Surely you
guess.
know Hamilton.
I know Hamilton. I
I
don't know
know
who's
of
by.
Hamilton.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
You
Can I
also
have a
wrote
clue?
the songs for Moana, Disney's Moana, and he
This is not in my
recently
wheelhouse, Robin.
acted in his Dark Materials for the BBC and HBO.
Didn't see it. I saw half of the first
I don't
episode.
know.
Was he in the first half of the first episode?
He was not, sadly.
Go on.
It's Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't
Yeah.
going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said Lin. I was like,
Oh.
Actually,
okay.
when did
Well-
Lin-Manuel Miranda came up? What was it?
when he became famous for Hamilton.
No. No, I don't. It came up in something else. But it's
Okay.
unrelated to this and no one cares about. Let's move on.
Well, the answer was Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Good.
And the score is 0. All.
Of course.
Okay, question number 2. Which American band had a 1997 UK number 1 hit with Don't Speak?
Oh, is it? Oh,
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
yeah, I know the song.
Martin doesn't get this, then I'm definitely not going to get it.
Don't tell me cows are hers.
Yes, that's the one.
Don't speak.
I can tell
I
you.
know what.
You gotta guess.
That's
You gotta
the
guess.
part
You gotta
at the
guess.
end.
You gotta guess.
I can't remember what a band is.
No doubt.
No doubt.
Oh,
That's it.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 3.
Oh, this
is
isn't
a
going
good
well.
start.
This
It's
is
a
a
good
bad.
start.
This is bad. Should we
I
just
am.
stop?
I imagine people were just yelling
No
at their
doubt. Of course,
screens.
there's
then.
no doubt.
Definitely that one.
That was
Okay.
bad, yeah.
Question number 3. You should get this one.
I get a point for the singing along.
Can we have some more closest wins questions,
Which
please?
actor plays the title
God.
character in Deadpool?
Champagne has always been celebrated for its
I knew that
excellence.
one.
Yes, Alex.
It's Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yay!
Yes. See,
Finally
see
a
again.
point.
I want more questions like that. As I
Yes.
said in the other podcast, I'm more of a tipping point kind of person,
that
not
was-
a university challenge.
Gwen Stefani.
That was my
University
original
Challenge.
number 1. I
Okay,
thought
maybe not.
that's too easy. I'll make it slightly harder with Lin-Manuel Miranda, and then it's useless. Anyway, question number
Okay,
4.
okay.
1-0 to Alex. Wildlife now.
Okay.
I like wildlife.
Your wildlife knowledge.
Yep.
Badgers. What is the name for the home of a badger?
It's called a set.
It is a set. Well
Okay, I
done,
didn't know
Martin.
that. Fair
1-1. Question number 5. Back to America.
You familiar with your badgers, Martin?
Oh yeah, I had some in there. There was a forest outside my house.
Yeah.
Loads of
Really?
badgers. We used to be like, oh, don't fall down the set, otherwise you get eaten by the badgers.
Do you take part in any culling?
No,
Good.
I'm not mad. Plus
Good.
they can carry older TV. Can't
Oh,
they?
yeah, I quite like them.
At
All
my
right then.
school,
Yeah?
the headmaster used to go under and just cull the badgers from underneath the
What?
portable things. He used to just kill them himself.
Oh my god.
Nutter. And then they changed headmaster because he had been there since like the 60s and was nuts. Anyway,
Yeah,
carry
well-
on.
Well, Joseph Smith Jr. founded which religious movement is the phrasing of the question, but it's kind of...
Joseph Smith Jr. founded a
Yeah.
religious movement.
Yeah.
Sounds quite good.
Its excellence. There is a California
The Mormons?
It is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done. Mormonism. So
I think
that's-
other religions are as
Yeah.
modern, apart from maybe Scientology. Which other denominations are? Because it's a denomination, right?
yeah, I think it would call itself a denomination.
There's
Yeah,
probably
so,
quite a
question,
few
There's
like
probably quite a
small
lot.
ones that we
There's
just
there's
don't
loads
really-
of weird, wacky ones, aren't there?
Yeah.
No offense.
Jediism.
Yeah.
No, that's not a religion. That's been officially
Really?
Yeah,
Denounced.
since 2016, it's not a religion. In the UK, in America, it might still be. I don't know.
Okay, I was going by US standards.
All right.
How do they judge it? How are they like? That is not religion.
I think it has to have belief, as in like people know they don't have the Force, right?
Not if they believe it.
No, but they know they don't.
What do you mean?
As in, it's based on a
How can
movie.
you-
It's
Yeah,
based on
it's
then
close. Based on a work of
science
fiction,
fiction.
yeah.
Which other religions based
Oh, I
on
don't know.
fiction?
I don't know.
Couldn't tell you.
Question number 6. British band Biffy
Scientology.
Clyro
Yes.
were founded in which country?
Scotland.
Yes. Well done.
Fair enough.
Oh,
Fair enough.
2-2 is tight. Question number 7.
Scotland.
What is the national fruit of India?
National fruit of India. What are they called?
Champagne by Paul Masson.
I think Martin wasn't there.
Mango.
This is the mango.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh!
what were you gonna say?
No, I wasn't going to say mango. It
okay.
doesn't matter.
3-2 to Martin. Question number 8.
He's on a roll. He's on a roll.
What is the name of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's eldest child?
Has always been celebrated for its excellence.
I think that was Martin.
George.
Yeah. Sorry, caught me off
Nerd.
guard there. Didn't realise
on.
you knew that.
Get a life.
All right then. I think that's 4-2 to Martin with 2 questions left.
Get alive.
Get a life.
There's time for Alex to get back. Which type of cap is commonly associated with the fictional detective
French
Sherlock Holmes?
champagne is always
Deer stalker.
It
hat.
is a deer stalker. Well done.
It is.
All right then.
As I buzzed, I didn't actually know the answer.
Oh
so
right,
it
I thought you were just
came
like
to my
struck.
head.
I thought you were
Yeah.
right there.
Cheating, some would say.
You could actually say that. 4-3 to Martin. Final question, number 10. According to the popular English proverb, what colour cheese is the moon made out of?
champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence.
Can't tell
Go
who
for
was
it.
first. Actually.
Yellow cheese.
No.
I didn't actually know. It's just
Blue cheese.
blue.
No.
There is a California champagne.
I mean, technically, you buzzed first, Martin.
Go on,
so
Martin.
Green cheese.
It is green cheese.
Green cheese.
Green
Everyone knows
cheese.
it's green cheese.
What proverb is that?
Yes, that proverb.
It's in the English proverb.
This is bullshit. I'm out.
Wait, what was the question? In the English proverb,
What colour cheese is the moon made out of?
yeah,
Green
it's-
cheese.
It's
Go on.
please, let's eat some green cheese. Let's go to the moon and have some cheese.
You just made that
You
up.
made that up.
That's
That's
not
the
real.
proverb.
That's
no,
not
it's
it.
not.
Look at that.
Prove me wrong without looking
What
at
is the
Oh,
proverb?
now go looking it up. Well, never mind. Question. Do you want the bonus question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've won. I wasn't loaded.
Yeah,
So Martin's won this one.
5-3 to Martin. Victory.
Oh, Alex, you're going to have to edit me in as
Good job.
winning the quiz.
And question 11 is about literary history.
Okay.
It's just,
You know,
we're
but-
done.
Edgar Rice Burroughs
I say Garai. I was like,
created which fictional character?
Oh.
First published in 1912.
it is Captain Pugwash.
No. No. It is not.
No, what are you thinking?
Edgar
Stupid.
Rice Burroughs. 1912?
A fictional character.
1912.
Fictional character.
Action, please.
I've said that I've committed to this now, but it's
have.
totally wrong because it would have been someone else. Mickey Mouse.
No.
No, Walt Disney.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it was not.
Captain Pugwash is bad.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
At least Martin has an excuse.
Forget about it.
I didn't know who.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Can
Let's
we
do
have a
one, let's do
clue?
one more.
Clue.
Let's embarrass ourselves once more.
He likes the jungle.
Ah,
Tarzan.
It's
Yeah.
Tarzan. Well
see,
done.
see,
Yeah.
it was like a character who was in Disney.
Edgar.
So
Edgar Rice.
Yeah. Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Yeah, I don't know what's called
Tarzan.
Rice.
Okay.
Unusual name, isn't it? But yeah, well done. Victory to Martin. The first winner of the first. Well, obviously the first winner of the first Just Interesting quiz. But
One up on the competition.
reigning
well
champion
done.
is
Well
Martin.
done.
Okay.
Fine. I'll get you next week.
Well, you won't, because I'll either be doing the quiz or it'll be me versus Robin.
Oh, that's true. I'll get you next week, or
You'll probably get me
I'll
next
get
week.
both of you.
It's going to be
Some
so
super
embarrassing now.
difficult
We'll be able to quantify how bad we are.
Yeah, I think we have to put in a pact between us
Yeah.
that with the quiz we can't. If we're if there's like advantage for one of us wanting the other one to win, we can't tailor the quiz towards the other person.
Yeah.
As in I'm like,
I see,
oh no,
yeah.
it's I'm on 3, Alex is on 3, Robin unfortunately is on 0 in quizzes. I can't be like, I'm going to make all the questions on
no.
cheese.
We can't do
cheese.
rugby for
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Exactly.
If I lose the next
don't
5
know,
quizzes, I don't want you to. If I lose the next 5 quizzes, I don't want you to be like, oh, let's throw Alex an easy question. No,
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, let me stew down there at the bottom with
Down
my
there?
with my 0 quiz wins.
He's Stu down there. Okay.
Stu down there.
I'll let you Stu
It's
down
a
there.
bit filthy.
That's fine.
Oh.
This is wrapping up. This is wrapping up.
After this, we've got a Patreon one, right?
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Patreon. So if you lovely Patreon supporters, and thank you so much for supporting us already. It's crazy. Thank you, and head on over. Everyone else, either head on over, or we'll see you next week on this main show.
See you next time.
Bye bye.
Thanks for watching.